Welcome back to the Ecosystems podcast. Glad to have you with us. Sorry, it's not the Ecosystems podcast, Ecosystem Show.
It's the Ecosystem Show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because YouTube prefer to call them shows rather than podcasts because they feel like a show is video, includes video. And this is what this does.
And who wouldn't want to see our charming faces?
Exactly. Even my
especially
face.
now that I'm back from causing an emergency diversion of an airplane. So I'm looking well, if I do say so myself.
So you on a flight caused an emergency situation that had to divert and land at an airport.
Yes.
Wow.
Which, I mean, it's not like it wasn't a goal. It wasn't a goal of mine, and I was not I was barely conscious. I was not part of the decision-making process on this.
Yeah. Wow. So medical instant, eh?
Yes. It was not the most fun I've ever had on a plane.
I bet. Frightening, really. But glad everything pulled through and you're okay. That's the good outcome of this. As you can see, there's only the two of us today. Our three colleagues weren't able to join us, but I'm sure they'll be back in the future. Not too long.
Is Will back in Scotland? That's just where we say Will is when he's missing. Right.
I assume he's back in his manor. Yeah, but
do you remember when we did the show with him and we, for whatever reason, we recorded 2 episodes back to back on the same night, on the same day, and Will not wanting it to appear that we had recorded them back to back, the rest of us just went and changed our clothes. Will took down the art on his wall
and swapped it out
and swapped it for different art. And when we talk about the art on Will's wall, what was it, like a red cow head hanging like he had shot a cow or something that.
It's what I would call eclectic art, right? Eclectic, I think, is the phrase that you would use for his artwork of choice. So I don't know, just lately. Oh, I tell you what. I'm gonna a little personal story. Today, in what's the time now? In my time, it is 8, a bit after 8 in the morning. At 1 o'clock today, I will have my first food that I haven't eaten for 7 days.
So you did it, huh?
I've done it. Yeah, water
That's
only,
wild.
7 days. Dropped about 5 kgs in 7 days.
As an American, I don't know how much that is. So
sorry, I don't know what in pounds.
I guess that's good. I guess it's good.
Let me just do the conversion.
I think it's about 2.5 kilograms to the pound.
It is 11.2 pounds.
There you go.
11,
good job.
11 pounds.
Nice one.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to my first meal.
What's it going to be?
An apple.
not a cheeseburger or something. It's going to be an apple.
No. Because you gotta, your body's got, like your stomach particularly is, has been operating for 7 days as such, apart from, detoxing.
That's wild.
And so, yeah, well, I'll take a banana first. I'll wait about an hour and then I'll have an apple. Then I'll probably wait another hour and then I'll have a chicken and vegetable soup. And that just so your system can turn back on without, blowing it out type thing.
So is this the first time that you've done this?
No, I've done 7 days. So it was 10 years ago when I did my last 7-day fast. And then when I say fast, that for me, the way my brain runs is it has to be no food whatsoever, no coffee, nothing, no liquid outside of water. So it's a water only fast. And in my past, about 19, 20 years ago, in 1 year I did two 21-day fasts in 1 year.
That's wild. That's wild.
Water only.
Wow,
the first time I did a 7-day fast, which is prior to that again, I was working still full time and I was in kind of a manual labor role, yet I was still able, your body's amazing in what it can achieve and do and stuff, especially when you go over about the 3-day mark and for males and the difference between males and female fasting are worlds apart. There's no correlation or similarity that you can do. So for example, the rule of thumb for females is that they should never fast the week prior to their period. At all. It will just be, because this is, and it's interesting I've learned, guys pretty much have one hormone as such, testosterone, right, running through the systems, where women have estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone, I think the other one is. And so fasting can really fuck up their hormones massively. So there's nowhere near the amount of studies done on female fasting as there are on males.
Interesting.
Yeah. Crazy thing, I haven't felt hungry at all. Not once. Not once have I thought, oh shit, I have a craving or anything like that. And I think it's because for the last 6 months, I've been doing intermittent fasting, which is 7 days a week. I only eat after 12 in the day, and before 8, and at 8 p.m. at night, I stop eating. So 16 by 8, what that's referred to. And so I think this is probably the easiest fast I've had to do from no kind of, cravings or anything like that. It's been amazing.
Awesome. Well, the ecosystem show, come for the tech and stay for the armchair medical advice or nutrition.
No advice. Just
no advice.
Testimony, right?
Mark's experience is not an indicator or a recommendation. So it's
yeah. So exactly, as I say, do your research. So I tell you what, one word has been popping up everywhere at the moment for me. And of course, that means I'm kind of focusing on a new area. And that word is agentic. So I had to understand, what does this word mean, agentic? And it's basically like, actually, I'll read you the definition from ChatGPT. It refers to being agent-like or having the characteristics of an agent. In a philosophical context, it often describes an individual's capacity to act independently and make their own free choices. In terms of AI and technology, it describes systems or processes that can act autonomously or make decisions without human intervention, effectively mimicking human agency. What do you think about this?
Well, so a couple of thoughts. One, for some reason, this fired in my brain when you were reading this, right? But, when you, we humans have had other humans acting as our agent for a long time, right? So
Exactly.
people of a certain age will remember the travel agent. Remember that was the only way you could book a flight for a very long time, right? Like you had to you had to call a travel agent because only they had the weird command line terminal that they could go book you a flight.
Yeah, Galileo, I think, was their back-end system. There's two. There's Galileo, and I forget the other one, which is still the way all flights happen around the world. Is still in those two.
Amadeus and Sabre.
Yes, there's three.
Yes,
there's three.
And those were Amadeus and Sabre are, like you said, those are two I know still used by almost every airline on the planet to manage their flight operations, right? But so anyway, you would have these travel agents, and a human would hire a travel agent to act on their behalf to go book them a flight. Or if you are we said people of a certain age. Well, people of a certain level of wealth and fame might hire an agent to represent them in a contract negotiation, say a sports agent or a talent agent or, what have you. So, it's a kind of like co-pilot, right? We've taken this word that has real meaning in human to human contexts, and we've grafted it onto this paradigm of artificial intelligence. And it's similar to how Windows. We called it Windows, or desktop operating systems have always had this metaphor of the folder and the desktop itself. So in some ways, it's really just it's using concepts that are familiar as a way to describe what's happening in AI. So that was a completely in the moment thought that I had when you were reading that definition.
Yeah, it's so valid, and I think by Q1 next year, I think this whole concept of agents is really going to sink in for people. And I don't know if you saw the announcements this week from OpenAI, but they bought out real-time voice-to-voice APIs. And
yeah, it did.
And what's totally epic about this? You literally will be able to create an agent that is your outbound calling agent. And so let's say your airline mucks things up or whatever. You'll be able to just say to your agent, hey, can you put a call in and make a claim or do whatever? They'll call up that contact center as a human level voice. They will not be able to tell the difference and say, hey, listen, this about my flight, here's my they'll have all your details that you've given it. And when they go, oh no, sorry, we can't do anything about it, they'll refer to policy 5963 on their website and go, well, according to your policy here, it says they'll have all that detail. We would never bother going and reading all that stuff, right?
First of all, I've been having the weirdest feud with our property management company that we pay service fees to, like condo fees for our place. They have taken, they took, I'll spare you the details, but 5 months ago, I spoke with them about solving a problem that they themselves have created. And they finally got back to me yesterday, and lo and behold, they needed 5 months to actually make the problem worse. So I would love, property management, cable companies, all of these hated industries, right? To just have an agent that calls and deals with them for me.
And that agent it understands all the laws, the bylaws of your area, like how you can get action from them and like the detail. And so you imagine that operator on the line, man, they're just going to not know what hits them. All of a sudden, these very knowledgeable people are calling in agents.
No, all of a sudden, the airline or the property management company, they're going to have their own agent, and it's just two agents are going to duke it out. It's going to be like the weirdest pub trivia like when two nerds get together and argue about the minute details of a problem.
I actually think they will get to a solution quicker, right? Because what happens, right, is that human nature is kick the can down the road, right? You got a problem. Like, I don't know if you've noticed in the airlines, and it particularly was prevalent when I was flying Virgin Australia and, frequently in Australia. And so you'd go to the check-in desk and say, listen, can I upgrade my seat to XYZ? And they're like, oh, I'll go and ask in the lounge. They'll do that. So you go to the lounge. And, can you upgrade a seat? Oh, listen, when you go on the aircraft, ask the person that when you're boarding the aircraft. And what they do is just kick down, like, I'm not going to say no to you, but I'm going to kick it down. And it's the next person in the chain. And of course you get there and they're like, oh no, they should have done that for you back at the service desk. And it's too late, right? And it's like, but the thing is, I think if you have this agent-agent interaction and their goal is a solution, they're not going to do any of that kicking the can down the road. They will, hey, yes, you know the policy, I know the policy, we've got to do this, bang, solved. I think it'll strip out all that crap.
Yeah, but I think it'll be very interesting to see how in this, and I want to, in a moment, I don't want to lose track of kind of talking about how early days of these announcements that we've seen over the last, month or so have gone, and, how we think they're playing. But before we get there, I do think that it'll be interesting to see how the personalities of the humans to whom the agents are accountable, basically like the personalities of their creators or the personalities of their masters, what happens what happens there, right? And I'll give you I'll give you a scenario, right? There are plenty of people in the world who, you are definitely one of them. I have things, we all have things that we do want to control, right?
Mm-hmm,
like for me, my weakness are slides, right? I don't like anyone else's slides, but for the most part, I am very happy to delegate something. If I think back, if I think of my experience as a manager and a supervisor of people in the workplace, right? The people who I work best with have always been, as direct reports of mine, have always been people who are super autonomous, super willing to sort of go do their own thing, because I am perfectly happy for my team to go do their own thing.
Yeah.
I really just care sort of about the result at the end and whether or not you've acted, like a decent human being in order to get there. But I don't care where you are. I don't care what you do with your time. I don't care how you do, I don't care about most of those things.
Yeah.
But I think that there is a whole, so for me, the idea of turning an agent loose to go deal with things and to be autonomous in that way, and to report back to me and to, come back to me with the result, and then we'll decide if we like the result. I'm very comfortable with that. But I think that there's a whole, there's a whole very different personality type that is going to be very uncomfortable with the idea of turning someone loose, whether it's an AI agent or a human agent, turning someone loose to go do the thing for them or on their behalf. And then add into that the layer of, what if you are dissatisfied? What if the human master is dissatisfied with the outcome that the agent has produced, right? So the airline's agent and your agent have at it about the policy and they come to a conclusion. Well, if the human doesn't get the result they're looking for, are they going to be pissed? Yeah. And I think the answer is yes.
So here's the thing, and this comes, I don't know, to a degree, to a maturity level and understanding the value of time, right? And one of the modern day philosophers I follow is a gentleman. I can't remember his name. It's a very long name. Naval, I think he goes by as his handle on. And that, in fact, that's his first name, Naval. And what he says is that he worked out early on in his life the concept of money and time and how they interrelate. So he said, if it's going to take me 2 hours to go to a mall and buy something, but I could buy that online and have it shipped to my door, no brainer. Even if there's a courier fee, no brainer, right? And he looked at every area of his life and said, like, let's say he has a product that fails and he realizes the time to get it corrected, even he could get it corrected, is going to take out of his life, is going to be more than what he values that product. He'll like, oh, let it go.
Yeah.
Who cares? Who cares? Because I value my time more importantly than my bank account. I have the funds to do it. I'd rather pay for it to be done. And he talked about his relationship with his mother and stuff, where she would ask him to do stuff and he would just get someone else to do it and pay them, because it wasn't good use of his time. It was just, and I think that's what that's going to come back to, is that for me, like, I'm like, bring it on, because whatever the answer is, I'm happy. I just didn't have to go through the process and stress and argument with somebody on a phone call to get the outcome that I am seeking. What I am concerned with agents, like what you just said there, is that what if the airline said to their agent programming, listen, make sure you do everything you can to not pay out, right? You need to use tactics of deflection and avoidance and ambiguity and stuff. Like the telco in New Zealand, Spark, they got a law case against them because they made their pricing so confusing on purpose to deceive the customers over time, that it was brought to the Commerce Commission, and they were found that they tactfully went out of their way to screw customers over on purpose.
So it's Ryanair, but as an electricity, was it an electricity company?
Telecoms.
A telco.
So it was equivalent to British Telecom, the same entity, government originally, government-owned telecommunication, became privatized, and then went through this process of doing everything to screw their customers over, knowing they had no choice. There's nobody else they could go to.
Longtime listeners or repeat listeners of the podcast will of course appreciate that the ecosystem show takes a long running position that Ryanair is the worst company on the planet. So just so we can get that out there again.
Classic.
The worst.
So back to agents, right? I got ChatGPT yesterday to make me a 40-hour course to go deep into agents and learn it and understand it. And
you had ChatGPT make a course for you?
Yeah, and like it goes out and does all the research and says, I recommend, on Monday in the morning, you're going to spend 4 hours, you're going to get hands-on, and I've got it doing it. I said, I don't want just a single view of this. I don't want just Microsoft's view. I don't want just OpenAI's view. I want AWS's. I want Google's as well in that mix. And cheers.
Cheers.
I hope to have one of those later today. And it will allow.
Well, it is 8:30 at night on my end.
Exactly.
We're 12 hours separate here.
I understand. Going deep on that. Now, another announcement made this morning by OpenAI, which I find intriguing, is they've brought out this idea of ChatGPT Canvas.
So is that like Copilot Pages?
It's identical.
It's almost like...
When I saw the interface, I'm like, it's identical. I was like, what the fuck? It's identical.
So I am currently super annoyed with my Copilot. Mm-hmm. So the background on this is that we several weeks back we started basically the Cloud Lighthouse policy, the company policy for whether you get a Copilot for M365 license is if you ask for one and you shall have. So Mark has not asked for his yet, so he does not have one.
Correct.
So anyway, I have one, but when I saw the Copilot Pages announcement a few weeks back, I thought to myself, because and this is probably something that you and I should unpack, the different ways that you and I use or look at AI in our personal, like in our own individual work life, right? But so anyway, I saw this announcement for Copilot Pages, and I thought, now that is useful. It's not earth-shattering. It's not groundbreaking, but it's
massively
really useful. And I cannot get it to appear in the Cloud Lighthouse tenant. And what annoys me right now is that I have asked Copilot how to make Copilot Pages appear, and it is not aware. It's not aware that capability has not yet been offered to me. And
it's just the rollout ring, right? It started mid-September. The US tenants would have got it first up, in specific areas, and it'll be their high usage, customers. We're
a US Northeast.
But do you have 100,000 users in your tenant?
No, so we are.
Microsoft got customers of that size on Copilot, right? So I think it's those ones that probably get it first, and then rolls out to ultimately the rats and mice and stuff that are just 2 or 3 licenses around the world. But I tell you what,
eventually Microsoft's most valued partner will get the feature.
Exactly. So I find this intriguing, and my question that jumps to mind is, did Microsoft do a deal with OpenAI? Because when I look at the conversation thread, they've been working on this for about 2 years. Mm-hmm. Did Microsoft have a deal with OpenAI that they obviously will know way before the public about feature development and stuff based on their relationship? Did they do a thing and said, hey, can we announce ours first and get that feature, and we'll build on it, and we'll put the Microsoft skin over the top, which, remember, Satya in his keynote calls this UI for AI.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is a really, really, and this week, once again, I've been doing a bunch of work in this space, and it's really blowing my mind up large what UI for AI really means. Because I was doing some research and I Googled ServiceNow, SAP, Oracle, the Oracle's HR system, SAP's HR system, Workday, Salesforce, maybe one other. And I searched for what was there. So first I did a prompt that asked for what were the names of their AI tools that they had for each of those brands. It came back, and then I searched those up looking just for screenshots of their interfaces, right, of their chat. So I ended up with on a PowerPoint slide with maybe 6 of these different things. The problem with each product producing its own chat experience like this is that employees in the organization that are already overwhelmed by the 50 apps that they have to use each day have now got 50 different AI tools to interact just with the data inside that data set. It's not holistic. You want to have an interface that goes across all your data sets, because this data set in this system might correlate to another data set in another system. But the model that all these, point solutions have gone for is, no, it's just about my data set. And I think that Microsoft has made an incredible tweak in what Satya said there. The UI for AI is going to be so important, because I think what's going to happen is in business, people are going to want one chat interface agent to their data on their desktop. They don't want 50 of them, right? Oh, shit, that's in that system. And it's just like, well, you're just going to do context switching, app switching, just like we've been doing for years. With this model from Microsoft, you can use Copilot Studio, connect into all those data sets across your organization, the Workday, the ServiceNow, the whatever. And when you prompt, you're going to have that context window across your entire data estate. And I think that was probably one of the smartest moves Microsoft have just made in their Wave 2 update.
So I have lots of thoughts on this topic. Let me see if I can quickly share them in the time it takes for me to not forget what they are.
Yes.
So first of all, I have been surprised over the last, are we at 2 years now? Since, nearly 2 years.
November it'll be 2 years.
Yeah, ChatGPT. Right. So, so for all of the advancements that we have made in the technology over the last 2 years, I have been very surprised at the kind of the stagnation of the user experience, right? I still very much believe, right, and anyone who's read my white papers on or in blogs on this topic know that the comparison that I like to use is that when the iPhone came out, for a few years, developers spent a couple of years trying to cram desktop applications into a smaller screen before realizing that the iPhone was a fundamentally different form factor and suited for different things. And then the same thing happened with the watch, right? For the first couple of years after the Apple Watch came out, we had these iPhone apps that were just like really, really teeny tiny apps on our phone to use, right? So I'm very confident that we're going to see the world, the global developer community and user experience designers, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to land on the UI for AI, and we're going to probably have several, right? This is not just like a one device type of thing. But I am surprised that it's taken so long.
Yeah, but I think any UI has to be multimodal by default.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Just as a given.
Yeah. So I think that's that definitely is one just observation, is that I am surprised that the technology, the underlying technology and the abilities of the technology have marched on so quickly, and we're still fundamentally interacting with it the same way that we interacted with it 2 years ago in a chatbot, right? So that's one. But I also think, I definitely hear you. I definitely agree with you. And I think that there's something here in the personality of the vendors, of the companies making this technology. And, there are thousands and tens of thousands of software companies that are doing things. Let's focus on Let's focus on 4 of them, on the big 4. And I'm going to set Meta, Facebook aside because Facebook and Meta are such a fundamentally different proposition than Microsoft, Apple, Google, or Alphabet, and Amazon. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that the companies, so you basically have 2 ends of a spectrum here, at which one end you've always had sort of this best of breed philosophy. And I'm going to be generous and call it a philosophy that Salesforce, Amazon, the Googles of the world have had, like you should get G Suite or whatever it's called now, like Google for your office productivity, and you should get Amazon for your cloud infrastructure. You should get Salesforce for your business, for your CRM or whatever. And you should piece all these things together, right? In a way that, lets you use what they would argue the best of breed. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have the Apple and the Microsoft approach, right? Apple and Microsoft, of course, being the adults in the room, that, they've been around the longest. They're the most mature. They have kind of the best end-to-end, in my opinion, offering in their particular space. And I think that it is the 2 technologies that I'm the most, that I think are very interesting in terms of making the first crack at this user experience thing are Copilot from Microsoft and Apple Intelligence from Apple, which hasn't even been released yet.
No.
And the reason I'm so interested in where Copilot and Apple and Apple Intelligence go over the next couple of years on this issue is because Apple and Microsoft are really the only 2 companies that have as far-reaching a device and or software and or data ecosystem to be able to create that one window to artificial intelligence across all of your data. It simply is not within the realm of something that Google or Salesforce or Amazon and certainly Meta are even able to produce. So it'll be really interesting to see where Apple and Microsoft take this.
Yeah. See, for me, I feel that Apple's going to have my personal data, right? And it'll have an agency across my personal data. And then Microsoft will have agency across my business data. That's the view I take of it.
I mean, so probably would agree all of the many of us who have been rolling around with Outlook installed on their iPhone for years now, ever since, what was it? It was around 2013 when Microsoft acquired Sunrise. It was Sunrise Calendar, which was a great calendar app turned into Outlook. So for sure.
Yeah. I just think it's going to be incredibly interesting times in that, this concept of agents is so far reaching in how, I've thought about it from a home automation perspective and having it intelligent enough to know temperatures, know the lighting conditions, and adjusting everything just automatically based on that, knowing that, I've noticed that every Monday you normally do your grocery order and have it delivered. You skipped it this Monday, but I know that you will be annoyed later in the week that you didn't do it, so I'll just order it for you. I know what all the favorite products and stuff you want, and all of a sudden, the truck arrives outside, and I'm like, fantastic.
Well, how fabulous will be, think of the quality, the improvement in the quality of the modern marriage, if only that use case could come to fruition.
Well, and then you take that a step further, right? I saw this week a TikTok from Australia where a guy has basically created a free Chrome extension. And there's 2 main shopping brands in Australia. They're Coles and they're Woolworths for your grocery shopping. Those are the 2 brands. And what he did is that before he announced this, he plotted for 6 months the price point on the 80% of products that people buy as staples every day in their life. And what he noticed is that there was this whole cyclical price that then would get discounted a week later. And it was kind of like this wave effect of the price and this week it's discounted, the price and this week it's discounted. And this is for not perishable foods, but, your hand wash, your laundry detergents and stuff like this. And so he then started monitoring across both brands, and he noticed that there was an offset. If you took the exact same product from two different stores, they would offset their discounting cycles between each other on this weekly scale. And so what he did is that this Chrome extension allows you to go in, and it can, for any product you click on, it shows you the price point today and what it was last week and what it was the week before and the week before. You can see this plotted graph underneath, and you can decide, you know what, laundry detergent, this week it's 50% off. I'm going to buy 2 lots of it, to do the next 2 weeks, because I know it'll be on discount again in 2 weeks' time based on the pattern that is shown in the past. Now you add that into the agent system.
An agent that can extrapolate and interpret that data without the mental load of sitting around pondering.
You don't have to worry about it. It just handles it for you. Now, here's another thing. Another Australian TikToker I follow, he's always helping you bring your household expenditure down. And what he noticed, he went down to get to the chemist to buy 5 products from the chemist. I forget what they were. And he has this app that scans a barcode, and it said, oh, it's this price at this store, this store, or this store. And once again, he found a 50% variance for any scanned product.
Fascinating.
And he goes, this is amazing. Like, you hand that to an agent, right? Who's going to go, you know what? I can order it, including the courier fees, etc. It's going to be cheaper to order it from, the online store of X, Y, or Z. Man, I tell you, I reckon e-com is going to go through the roof, online buying of anything, because it's going to find the best optimized deal price point for you, and it'll purchase from there rather than your store of choice.
Yeah. Now let's, so I think in a future episode, sorry, what were you saying, Mark?
I was going to say customer loyalty will be dead going forward. It'll kill customer loyalty. Or customer perceived loyalty, that these programs try to induce you into.
Yeah, well, I think it'll kill. I think it's likely to. I don't think it'll kill. I know you love to say that things are dead, but I do. I don't think that. I think it will certainly force changes in customer loyalty programs, probably across the board, but no industry more so than in highly commoditized industries, right?
Like air travel?
I actually don't think that air travel is nearly is as highly commoditized, because air travel is first of all, it's very specific. It can be very specific to where you live, right? To specific markets.
Totally.
2, there really are benefits. As someone who flies a lot, there are there can be huge benefits to sort of concentrating your miles earning, your points earning in an airline alliance, for example.
But what happened if your agent knew all the data of all the others, knew everything about how you could optimize a flight? And because I see on, some folks online, they know that for whatever airline, sometimes you can buy points and stuff, right? And status credits and stuff like that. And it knows the price. It could work all that stuff out and go, hey, by the way, this month they've got this deal. If you go that, it means the next 5 flights you're going to do, you're going to be business all the way, because it's going to be so economical to do it. I think it's amazing. I can't wait to,
So this is going to cause, I think, significant changes in the patterns of customer loyalty and in the way that brands attract and retain that loyalty over time. The more commoditized it is, right? So if I can buy a bottle of my favorite dishwashing detergent at I live in the UK, so at Tesco or at Sainsbury's, you know what I mean? So those really, where the same brand is available from multiple retail providers, that's, I think, loyalty to those retail outlets is out the window. I think that probably you've got, I really love the clothing brand Asket. They're a Swedish brand, and I just love the t-shirts. I love the button-down shirt. I just love them, right? But you only get them from that store, my Allbirds. You only get Allbirds shoes from Allbirds, right? So those sorts of, those integrated manufacturing, distribution, and retail outlets are probably going to fare better, but they're under pressure right now for a whole host of other reasons. So,
but you think, imagine your agent knows the style that you're into, and it discovers, because it's out there researching all the time, the optimal shirt that you like, and it finds 5 other brands that allow you a bit of diversity in what you're wearing, but they're on point as to what you like to wear. And you would never have gone out of your way to look at that because you're happy with where you are. But all of a sudden now you're exposed to new, and oh my gosh. So I think, even like, take Allbirds as an example. What if about 3 others that kind of suited a similar style, but it understood your personality type? I just think it's still going to open up. I think the one thing that where loyalty will still stay is a good coffee shop and a good, a great restaurant, a great wine bar, a great, cocktail. Like, I don't think those will go away in a hurry. Like, I think these other things, will transform very, very rapidly. The other thing, I think, in 2025, people are going to realize how much AI, the need for them to get on board and understand and work with AI, as in much more than the population broadly outside of tech.
Yeah. Yeah, so I know we're almost at time here, but there's a few themes topics that I think would be really interesting to pick up on in a future episode. So one is, I alluded to this earlier, the different ways and the different perspectives that you and I have on how we've integrated, or maybe not integrated, AI into our daily life and work. I think that's a really interesting topic. I would like to pick up on how this, agentification and this idea of agents has been rolled out and received over the last couple of months or so. I think that's interesting. And I also think that it's really interesting to think a little bit about how, what this means, what agents mean from a regulatory perspective, and how governments are going to deal with accountability. And I'm thinking about that example that you cited, I forget who it was, where basically the what was it, the telco had instructed had instructed the folks to
confuse their customers, because they could drive more revenue. It's going to be interesting, because they were litigated against, and that was way before AI. This is like 10 years ago. This type of thing happened. So interesting times, mate. It's been great talking. We're definitely over time. But until next time, ciao.
See ya.